The Jacksonville Jaguars lose in one of those games where you watch and go, ouch. I'll tell you why. It was the not so good, bad, and the ugly here on the postgame show.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is always your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast that you can find wherever you get your podcast. Just make sure you tap in whether you watch or listen so you do not miss an episode of the show. Two-segment show today here on the postgame show like we always do. Obviously, the Jacksonville Jaguars fell short today and lose to the visiting Seattle Seahawks 20-12, and whatever could have gone wrong absolutely went wrong for the Jags today. We'll hit all of that as we run you through this postgame show here on Locked On Jaguars. What we're actually going to do is, at first, I'm going to start out talking about the not so good, bad, and the ugly, and then what happens next, because obviously they got to figure out a way to put this one behind them, because this was a not very good performance, and there are some things that we are obviously going to have to go over this week. So I can look at the statistics all day and give you the stats, but if you watch the game and you know the game, the one thing the Jaguars were not able to do is run the ball today. 19 carries for 59 yards. They stopped Seattle from running the ball, but the Jags couldn't protect Trevor Lawrence. 7 sacks. At least that's what I was counting earlier. Yep, and that's the number I'm sitting right here looking at it. 7 sacks today from a front. They've invested heavily in their front in Seattle, but the Jaguars were missing one guy, and the sacks didn't all come from the interior where Robert Hainsey was not available today. But there's no excuse. There's no excuse. And I know we're going to get this out of the way right now. They weren't flat, okay? We're going to kill that noise. They weren't flat. Why, everybody wants me to sit there and talk about them being flat because it makes them feel better. It's not. I want to also thank you for listening to us here on Locked On Jaguars. Reminder, you can follow our show and hear new episodes ad-free daily on Amazon Music. So make sure you go check that out. But flat is not an excuse. You play 17 games a year, you get paid a whole bunch of money. And I don't care how exciting the Monday night game was and how it ended. You're a pro. There are a lot of teams that do this, and week after week they have exciting games, and they come out the next week and they play well again. I'm not going to fall into the loser's mentality of calling this some sort of formula game. And plus, you get hit every play. Ain't no way you're going to come out flat when you're getting punched. That's like a boxer coming out flat. They played flat the entire game. They played without passion. They played as if they thought that they were going to win, just like they won in the past this year when they've played poorly. Those turnovers didn't come. You didn't get the interceptions. Didn't get the turnovers. Didn't get all of that stuff. Still got the penalties. Didn't get any of that. Didn't get a whole bunch of spectacular plays. The 1 or 2 plays that they had were spectacular, got called back by penalties. So no, this is what it is, and we're going to call it. It was bad, but it wasn't uncharacteristic. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Everything that they did today, they have been doing that stuff all year, but they get away with it. And like a good show host to an audience where a team doesn't have a lot of history of winning, I'm not going to complain about what they've done because as long as they win. Hey, they figured it out, right? But today shows you what happens when you don't play clean and clean things up. There is no W to celebrate to make you say, we figured it out. We're just going to focus on the positives and move forward. No, they have things to fix. They have things to fix pre-snap. They have things to fix now that the tape is out. And Mike McDonald, who is a very, very good head coach, maybe now we see why Baltimore is struggling on defense, because he's been here for a couple of years. And it seems like he had the Jaguars number while they were missing 2 members in the secondary. We have to talk about why these people can't get open also. We really, really do. We got to talk about all of that stuff. The Jaguars invested heavily in their wide receiver core. Brian Thomas Jr., outside of a drop that was very, very critical in the fourth quarter, looked like he was starting to come around and kind of get out of that funk that he'd been in, right? It kind of looked like that. Today he had a pretty good day. 8 catches, 90 yards, a tutty. He was active, but then he comes up and he has a big drop in the fourth quarter. The kicking game, the punter got out punted. I'm sitting right in the press box. I'm telling you, I'm watching that other guy's punch were higher, longer, and Logan Cook, I don't know what's going on with him. He just doesn't seem like the same Logan Cook. And we're going to talk about Cam Little too. There's just so much to get into. I did promise people when I was in the box that I was going to address why the Jaguars went for 2 when the score was 20-19, and saw all of the people saying, why would you do it? I actually like the call, but I don't like it for the reason. Everyone says, it's the analytics play sheet. Man, I don't think it had anything to do with it. What I think it had something to do with is he knew his team was struggling. If you're down 20-6, that means you have to score, extra point, score, extra point. Now, mind you, by this time, Cam Little had missed an extra point and a field goal already. Still, you're still going to go out there and let him go for an extra point, right? No, because here's what the Jaguars would have had to do. They would have had to, when it was 20-6, they got to score, stop, just to tie the game. And both of those times, they got to get touchdowns, right? And then maybe at the end of the game, and you can do it the other way. You can go score, stop, touchdown, or score, touchdown, convert, stop, get a field goal, stop, get a touchdown, and then another extra point and make it 20-20. Or to win the game, I mean. Because if you're down 2 touchdowns, you got to go score, convert, stop, score another touchdown, convert to tie it. But then you'd have to stop them again and get the ball back again and try a field goal, which I don't think they had confidence that they could do that. So what I think Liam decided is, nope, I'm not trying to do this like that. I'm going to get 2 right here. And if I get 2 right here, if we stop him, I get the ball back and we score a touchdown, I'm going to be kicking an extra point to win the game because I don't have the confidence that we can stop them 3 times in a row and score 3 times, 2 touchdowns and a field goal. That seems like that field goal part of it might be the hardest part of it. So I totally understood what he was doing. And everybody's saying, why did he do this? Why did he do that? It was common sense why he did it. He ain't got no confidence that they were going to have the time to score 2 touchdowns and then get the ball back and then kick a field goal to win it. They hadn't moved the ball consistently all game. He probably didn't think. He said, nope, I'm going to try to win this thing. I'm going to put this on them. So people say, well, if you don't make it, what happens? Well, if you don't make it, you go down 20-12. And then if you score a touchdown after that, then you try to go for 2 again just to tie it. And now you're back in the situation that you were trying to avoid, but at least you ain't losing. But I saw what he was trying to do. He was trying to win the game. But we got to start investigating what's going on with the kicker. I think you're going to start seeing some kickers come in here because I got to hold true to the point that I said, look, man, they will cut you if you're not playing well. And you start having to coach around your kicker. A thing that I thought was going to be a strength turns out it doesn't look like it's a strength. In fact, it might just be a little bit of a weakness. And they got to get that figured out because it totally changed the complexion of the game. Instead of it being 20-12 late, it should very well have been 20-14. Or let's see, 12, extra point, missed field goal. They did. Okay, yeah, that's two extra points. So that's 2. No, it should have been 20-17. And that changes everything because if it's 20-17, what that does is that says, okay, look, we can play for a field goal here, and they're going to guard against the field goal so you can go for the touchdown. Just a bad performance by the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll get more into it in just a second, and then we'll talk about what happens next here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Mizzen and Main. You know the saying, look good, feel good. The problem is most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp but feel stiff, hot, and high maintenance. That's where Mizzen and Main comes in. Mizzen and Main makes classic menswear with performance fabrics, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they perfected it ever since. I know I like looking good, and y'all like looking good. And these clothes fit really, really nice. Keep you nice and comfy. It doesn't make you all hot and stuffy and sweating. I'm telling you, man, Mizzen and Main is the absolute truth. Right now, Mizzen and Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com with the promo code Locked On NFL20. That's Mizzen, spelled Mizzen, and Main, like Main Street, .com, promo code Locked On NFL for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen and Main stores in selected areas. Today's show is also brought to you and sponsored by Mazda. Man, Mazda is making some beautiful cars. And for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is, I got a hard time finding one for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but Brian Thomas Jr. with his touchdown early in the game and some nice catches early in the game, it seemed to get himself back on track. We'll see if he can pick up from where he left off with that. Because when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like Mazda, there's more to every highlight. There's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. And finally, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. Obviously, you're here, so that means you know that the NFL season is cranked up 1/3 of the way in week 6, and FanDuel is still making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Tell you, I love doing it, man, because it'll give you the information that you need about injuries. It'll tell you exactly what teams are reporting, so you'll know who will be in the game and who won't, and then that'll give you an idea of who you should be playing. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, man, a few more minutes here on the postgame show with the Jacksonville Jaguars having an awful game today. I said, to me, they were out-coached, out-prepared, out-executed, out-toughed, all of it. They got to figure out what's going on. It can't just be Robert Hainsey. And I was also a little surprised that they must have a lot of faith in Jonah Monheim, because I thought that they would use Pat McCary at center and play Chuma Edoga and McCary spot at right guard. No, that's not what they did. And Edoga is another one. He hasn't been playing a lot, but when he got into the game, he had a couple of penalties and a couple of mistakes that kept the Jaguars in long down and distance situations. These pre-snap penalties and these holding penalties and these things that they're doing that puts them in 1st and 20 and 2nd and 15, it has to stop. Also, guys got to get open. Guys other than Brian Thomas Jr. They got to get open, because it seemed like everything the Jaguars tried to do in the passing game today, there was an answer for it. Also, pressures are nice, but Josh Hines-Allen has to start sacking the quarterback and getting to the quarterback. He's paid a lot of money to get to the quarterback and be a closer. There are a lot of good players in the league that get both sacks and pressures. I'd like to see him crank it up and start being one of them, because if not, I'm telling you, the Jaguars will start looking around at everybody wants them to go out and trade and get all of these great defensive tackles. What do you think they got to give up to get them? They don't have a first-round pick next year. I'm sure they're not giving up their first rounder for 2027. It's going to be somebody it's going to be somebody you like on this team if they start trading good for good to change the dynamic of their team. Really, really disappointed today, man. They remind me of a team that believes they have a lot of parts and they're rotating a lot of players. I don't know if they're good enough to be doing all of that. I think that's, it's going to bring into question pretty soon. Like, you got to find your main guys and you got to play your main people. And on tomorrow's show, I'm going to touch something that some people might feel like is kryptonite for media people. I'm going to talk about Travis, because while he did make the spectacular move and shake somebody else out of their boots, he's very, very demonstrative when he thinks he's open and when he's trying to tell them to play, like, I don't want to play this defense. Let me get closer to this guy. He's turning around, and I'm guessing that he got a completion in front of him, and he was playing off coverage, and he turned around and he implored them like, nah, man, come on. I need to be able to push up on this guy. So we're going to get to the point where I talked about this week where because he's not having the impact that a lot of people thought, the draft people are going to come out. The Colorado people are going to come out. And then just people that's going to come out and say Leon doesn't know what he's doing. All of the former players on TV, they're going to come out and say, what are they doing? They're going to have a legitimate gripe. He had a touchdown that Brian Thomas Jr. had that got called back because he lined up offsides. It happens. That doesn't really happen. Wide receiver has no reason. He's looking right at the ball. You should not be offsides, right? But things happen to rookies. And not a lot of huge impact on defense in this game. There's going to come the question is, are they using him correctly? Or the question is, might start being framed this way. Are they doing what he wants them to do instead of doing what's actually best for the team and best for him, like playing him on one side of the ball and making him play and study just that one thing? Is it wide receiver or is it DB? I know this is a fun experiment, and I'm not telling you they should give up on it. But at some point, in order to maximize results, you're going to have to figure it out, because there are times in the game when it's a critical game or a critical juncture of the game, and he is not on the field, offensively and defensively. That is almost oxymoronic, if you will, for somebody that you gave up all of that stuff for. And I know he can't be on the field all the time on both sides of the ball. But the problem is, if he's not on the field because y'all just had a 3 and out and he just ran a go route, so you come back and when you got to get the ball back, he's not on the field, that's a problem. I just think they need to figure out where his real value is based on what does he do the best. Whatever his superpower is, figure it out and put him out there. If you don't, it's like you did all of that stuff for nothing. I got people already online telling me, hey, man, all of this stuff done wore out on us now, man. We need him to perform, Jack. We don't care about the dancing and we don't care about none of that stuff, but the impact isn't the same. And somebody was like, man, do they know what they're doing? And I'm thinking, like, did you watch Tampa's offense last year? Of course they know what they're doing. Have you watched the Rams? Those are wide receiver friendly systems. You always talk about the Rams, the Bucks, and the Vikings. All those teams got wide receivers running around all over the place catching balls. All right? So, sure, the only thing that's different from those teams is Puka Nacua ain't playing defense. Justin Jefferson ain't playing defense. Mike Evans ain't playing defense. So, what are we doing here? He should be having the impact that Emeka Egbuka is having in Tampa. I'd take that and then let everybody else play corner and maybe put him out there when you go to a dime when you're trying to win the game or something, if that's what you want. I personally think he's better on defense, and then you can spot play him on offense. But this splitting time stuff, we're really getting to the point now where people are starting to say, you know, trying to spend time in 2 different rooms means you ain't spending enough time in one of those rooms. And I'm kind of right there with them. This is not what I expected. The Chiefs game, yeah, it was a glimpse of what I expected. But today, when a team doesn't have their top 2 corners, when and they're guarding one-on-one, and there's nothing different. They got to figure this out. They should be a lot better. Diami Brown, I know he got hurt, but they paid money for Dante Moncrief. They gave him $10 million back in the day, and he was here for a year. Torrey Holt was here for a year. This is looking like a one-and-done situation. It's like, what are they really getting for that? I mean, you can't keep blaming Trevor Lawrence when guys are dropping the ball also. Trevor, good game today. Solid. I mean, a little clunky, but that's what Trevor is. Trevor is an inconsistent football player. They got some soul searching to do because they got a big game next week against the Rams, and the Rams look like they're trying to get themselves together. Y'all can check me out all week on Locked On Jaguars. I'll have more for you. And on Locked On NFL, make sure you tap in to Locked On NFL twice a day. 2 shows, Tyler Rowland in the morning and me in the afternoon, wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you here. The Jaguars lose the game, but maybe they lost a little bit more than that. Maybe they lost the patience of a lot of their fans. We'll see if it carries over. Hopefully they're 4-2. Hopefully they can get it back going next week.